This legislation would mandate the disclosure of proprietary information, access to diagnostic and repair documentation, updates to software, and original equipment manufactured parts at a predetermined cost for anyone who requests it. While this may sound fair to some, dictating how a company operates when it comes to use and access to their intellectual property is in fact not very fair. As specified in the bill, the manufacturers of any product that connects to embedded software of which it operates will be subject to information disclosure requirements to any party requesting. This includes medical equipment, servers that host critical infrastructure, including those utilized by the state of Nebraska, and security systems that are designed to keep us safe. The security of user information of these products is of the utmost importance to manufacturers and the consumers who use them. A misrepaired medical device, such as an MRI machine, could potentially threaten sensitive medical information that is highly guarded by HIPAA, or worse, could result in a malfunctioning life-saving device, such as a pacemaker.
N-E-C-K-E. I'm here on behalf of the Entertainment Software Association to testify in opposition to LB 67, specifically to how this would affect a very important copyright industry here in the United States. Last year, consumers spent roughly $30 billion on games, hardware, and game-related services. Game consoles are at the heart of this ecosystem. High-profile games, what we call in the business AAA titles, involve hundreds of artists, programmers, engineers, and other talent to bring to life, and can cost as much as a Hollywood blockbuster to produce. In order to preserve the incentive to create, publishers and console makers include security features known as DRM, or Digital Rights Management, to protect those games from illegal copying. Simply put, here's how the system works. The game console authenticates that the disc or cartridge inserted into the console is a legitimate copy. If it's not, the game console won't play the game. It's a robust system used by all three of the major console makers and has proven to be an effective deterrent against illegal copying. The challenge with the Fair Repair Act is that, among other things, it would allow third parties to modify the inner workings of the console, including access to software updates and tools, in a way that would compromise those vital security features. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Senator Christ?
Are you a lawyer?
I am.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa McCabe, L-I-S-A M-C-C-A-B-E, and I'm here on behalf of CTIA, the Trade Association for the Wireless Communications Industry. LB 67 seeks government regulation of the relationship between manufacturers and repair facilities, as Senator Chambers has already very eloquently pointed out. This bill is inappropriate intervention by mandating the distribution of diagnostic and repair information to anyone who asks. It will unnecessarily distort the marketplace. Authorized repair facilities contract with manufacturers to ensure that equipment is repaired properly and along the guidelines which are set by the manufacturer. This is a contractual relationship so that the manufacturers can protect their brand and ensure that those working on as authorized providers have the training and vetting to make sure that they can still stand behind the work that is done by the authorized. Because there is a vibrant marketplace for repair that already exists, as we saw by many small businesses that have grown through the years, we think consumers do have a choice, and that we don't need government interference into the marketplace to continue the growth in the industry. Thank you.
And I represent the Consumer Technology Association. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in opposition to LB 67. CTA is a trade association representing the U.S. consumer technology industry, and we represent more than 2,200 companies, 80% of which are small businesses and startups. We're concerned with LB 67 because manufacturers of consumer electronics are rightfully careful when it comes to consumer safety and the quality of their product. This is why authorized repair providers are required to meet safety, training, quality, and business assurance standards implemented with the contracts with the manufacturers. This ensures repairs are done in a manner that protects the consumer, the manufacturer, as well as the repair provider and its employees. Unfortunately, this bill would circumvent that system. Manufacturers are concerned that independent service providers may use these tools to take risks or shortcuts that sidestep important safety standards which protect the consumer. And although it's nice to think manufacturers would not be liable for unsafe products misrepaired, such an assertion is untested, and the deep pockets of some device manufacturers might be too tempting for some plaintiffs' attorneys. Consumer electronics manufacturers have invested significantly in their brands as well. Many work hard to maintain a level of quality in their product.
To speak to you today. My name is Mike Kongs, that's M-I-K-E-K-O-N-G-S. I'm representing Landmark Implement. We have John Deere dealerships from Beatrice to Gothenburg throughout the central part of the state, and also 3 locations in Kansas. There's been a lot of discussion today regarding both the safety and the availability of the tools needed. I'd like to touch on just a few of those. In the opening statements, we heard mention to holder of the keys being the manufacturers and the dealers. Well, those keys are available, at least through the John Deere business, to any customers or third-party people that are interested in repairing equipment. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Senator Christ?
So you opened up Pandora's box. I have heard, I'm very familiar with GPS codes, updates to GPSs. I have heard that what I would call gouging is in effect in terms of the updates, mandatory updates for GPS systems on John Deere tractors to the tune of $4,500 in order to put the thing in place. And I'm not saying that it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but in conversations with people who are on your side of the fence, I had some criticisms for the other side of the fence earlier, and now I'm going to have some criticism now. You know, realistic and efficient and economics have to be applied to any industry. If Cessna wants to get rid of an airplane, they make the technical changes on the wing and the support structure so expensive that it forces me to buy a new airplane. And it's rampant. It happens in the aircraft industry all the time. And when I hear people complain about the price of an update, and I hear people complain about the inaccessibility or the place in Nebraska that they can't get the support, and I realize that most everything I can do with the airplane, I can load the software in my iPad and go out and plug it into the airplane, and I have a subscription for the GPS that costs me about $1,200 a year of Jetson, and I can update or flash drive and update that technology in a New York minute. And I'm a pilot. I'm not even an A&P. I'm not an inspector. So my challenge to you is to make your OEM chain more efficient and more economical so we don't hear those kind of complaints. I still don't think that we need to hear this at the state level. I still think it's a copyright issue at the federal level. But it seems to me that in the list of culprits, John Deere is in that list. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time for you to defend yourself, but I will give you a couple minutes to respond. I'm not accusing you of gouging or charging too much, but in terms of listening to my constituents and people out there, I think this could be an industry change that would solve 80% of the complaints.
Senator, I do agree with you. Okay. Now, I'd like to address the item you brought up, $4,500, for example. In most cases, and I can only speak from what I see in the John Deere world, it's not a matter of $4,500 for a update as much as it is an upgrade. just like all technology, technology does advance, and technology has an obsolescence. I mean, it does go obsolete. The customers that have been affected with that $4,500 upgrade, if that's what you want to call it, have had to purchase new software, new receivers in order to receive the data. In some cases, we've had to change data because or change receivers because they work on a frequency that is being used by somebody else. And so we have to change that equipment out.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, my name is Kim Roback, K-I-M-R-O-B-A-K. I'm here today on behalf of AT&T in opposition to LB 67. I won't reiterate everything that everyone else has said today, but sitting in the audience and listening to the testimony, this has been a very interesting debate about the free market system and about repairing farm machinery and equipment and telephones. But I will say that I urge you all to read the bill. It is extremely broad, and it refers to every piece of electronic equipment sold in the state of Nebraska. This sounds like it's a big guy versus little guy issue, but examine the bill and think as if you were somebody at the University of Nebraska Innovation Campus. And I have now created a brand new product. It's an electronic product, and I want to sell that product in the state of Nebraska. If this bill passes as it is drafted, I would have to give to anyone who bought that product access to all of the electronic codes in my product. Does that make any sense?
This one really deserves a little bit of commentary. Let's actually read the bill. The bill says in Section 3, for equipment sold and used in this state, the OEM of such equipment shall make available to any independent repair provider or owner of the OEM equipment any diagnostic and repair documentation, including repair technical updates and corrections to embedded software, for no charge or in the same manner as the OEM makes such diagnostic and repair documentation, including technical updates, available to its authorized repair provider. And then it goes on and it restates that exact same language, except it includes equipment and then it includes tools. So what it actually says is not that I have to give anything away. It says that I have to provide access to the same kind of stuff that I use to do repair in-house to anyone that wants to repair the device. So what does that actually mean in this hypothetical scenario? Let's say that I had created a product, an electronic product. Let's say it was a coffee maker. If I, made an excellent coffee maker that people loved, that generally had a reasonable life and didn't break down, then this bill doesn't affect me at all. If no one's going to try to repair it because it doesn't break, then I have no problem. The only way that this bill actually bothers me is if I'm trying to be a douchebag. If I'm trying to be a douchebag, I make a product, the product breaks down, and people want to repair it. If I offer a repair service that is at a reasonable cost and I can actually fix this stuff for people, then people are generally going to come to me. I made it. I'm the OEM. They're going to come to me in my repair service and I'll repair it for them. So again, this bill doesn't really bother me. The only way that it creates a problem is if I either refuse to repair this at all, or if my repair service is so expensive or unwieldy or inaccessible that people want to repair it on their own. They want to feel that there's a business there to compete with me for repair. That's what this bill is meant to do. It is meant to prevent douchebags from either failing to repair stuff or from making repair so expensive or inaccessible that it creates the need to have another choice for the consumers.
And if the state of Nebraska is the only state that does that, Senator Chambers' comment was that that would apply in all their states. Again, the way the bill is drafted, it says that any product that is sold and used in the state of Nebraska. If I'm the big guy, what I do is I just don't sell my products in the state of Nebraska because they have to be sold here. If it's online, I don't sell to anybody who has a zip code in Nebraska. And if I'm a little manufacturer, I move out of the state of Nebraska. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to introduce this bill and pass it only in the state of Nebraska because it does harm those individuals who create these products and have to provide those codes. Makes a whole lot of sense if you want to look at this from a federal level. I see that this hearing is being filmed today on some iPhones, and I'm sure that it's going to be played. It may even be played live right now, but you can also get it on NET, so you don't have to come in and videotape it. But I'm sure that these topics will be raised and discussed, and perhaps a bill that is not so broad that it affects every single piece of equipment could be reviewed, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to urge people who create products to have to give their products away.
Okay. Ms. Roback, any questions? Thanks for being here. Okay, that concludes opponent testimony. Do we have anybody testifying in a neutral capacity? I see no one testifying in a neutral capacity. So, Senator Brush.
Thank you, members of the Judiciary Committee, and you have been thorough, you have been diligent. What I have heard from the opposition, I have heard. I have been contacted by numerous lobbyists of different groups. Everyone says this is a bill good for someone but me, kind of like taxes. And I did want to clarify here some of the concerns that were raised. This is not a copyright issue. If you look in you don't have to do it now, but in my formal introduction on page 3, it tells you that there's more background. And in 2015, U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley, the Republican from Iowa, and Patrick Leahy, the Democrat from Vermont, they petitioned the United States Copyright Office to conduct a study. And one of the points of interest was to identify key issues on how copyright law interests with other areas of the law establishes how products that rely on software to function can be lawfully used. And you can read this yourselves. And it said the Copyright Office released their report in December of 2016, which was passed out to you. You have that with you, with some of the most relevant portions highlighted. The Copyright Office essentially concluded that problems that consumers run into with respect to having the ability to maintain, repair, and legally modify their equipment are problems that can be addressed at the state level through contract law and consumer protection, not at the national level, since problems do not deal with copyright law. These are not copyright issues. The software itself is protected through intellectual property. It is not something that someone can try to emulate without running into legal recourse. You know, all of the arguments, I can speak with you later, the security piece, the safety piece, those are issues. I have talked with software engineers, and by the way, the equipment manufacturers, they said, if you take out the word engineers, then we probably won't object to this, and so we took out the word engineer. What? They still object to it. It wasn't, again, we're going in circles. And the reason, the state cannot amend federal laws, as Senator Chambers rightfully said, but the 2013 Massachusetts Right to Repair Bill, specifically tailored to automobiles, has not been challenged and has not been burdensome to interstate commerce. And all of you here today can access and repair your diagnostic information for your automobile due to the Massachusetts law. There was a memorandum of understanding issued. There's only little over 20 auto manufacturers, dealers. It can be handled through an MOU. However, as you had heard, there's thousands of repair software and hardware entities. Most have major branding. That's the problem here. The major brands are trying to smother out the small mom and pops, the entrepreneurs you heard here coming here. And I was really entertained to hear whispering over my shoulder when the woman from Alexandria was talking about the microwave. This gentleman who fixes printers says, quote unquote, and I'm saying it respectfully, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And he recited the parts and mechanisms of the microwave and the impact. So even though you're from Nebraska, you know what you're doing. You can have the education, the training. Kevin Kenny brought this bill to my office in November of 2016. And LB 1072 was introduced last year by Senator Ken Haar. And nothing in this bill would supersede the federal law. And in fact, much of the language here was taken from the 2013 Massachusetts bill. And the farm implement dealers, it's a great group of people. You know, as a farm wife on a Sunday afternoon, we don't drive to the lake. We drive through the implement dealer and take a look at what's new on their lot. It's such a good day when we can do that. And we're not trying to poke them in the eye, but what we're saying is that we'll come back to you because we like you, you're reliable, we trust you, but when you tell us that this is ours and ours alone, and when you know that a person from Main Street was here in West Point, small shop, farmer, he can do what the diagnostic and repair piece, that's all he wants to do. He's not trying to build a competitive piece. And as far as the way the bill is written, we can put some amendments. It is based off the Massachusetts bill. However, we're talking about equipment you own, something that you own, that you shouldn't have to pay for over and over or end up just tossing in the junkyard, the landfill. Because it's cost prohibitive to fix. And I don't know how many of you heard that, oh, it's going to cost as much to fix it, you might as well just buy a new one. Well, it shouldn't cost that much to fix this. And then the final thing is, this is being picked up through NET. I have individuals who are with the Boston Globe watching, Inc., the Guardian, they're all anxious, and not because they think Nebraska's a bunch of fools, I think I've heard that word used, but because they think we're smart, that we're smart, we have a unicameral, we have a one house, we're streamlined, we're not reliant and corrupt where maybe other places are, we're not afraid to stand up to a lobbyist, that Nebraskans are independent thinkers. They think if they have a chance in Nebraska, by golly, they have a chance elsewhere. We are their first hope, that we have not sold out to big business, that we realize that all businesses are important and they can become our partners just the way they used to be. I come to you because I like you, you're fair, you're efficient, but I also want someone in a small rural town to be able to repair equipment. I know you have more people behind you. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Senator Brush. Any questions? I have one question.
Yes.
Has this bill received a priority designation?
No, unfortunately, I have come so close, and my colleagues think it's a hopeless bill. And you have been asked by a few people, what would you think about it? Because they're not going to prioritize it unless they know that it will come out of committee. And, you know, I stand behind this bill. I think it's the right thing to do. You know, I believe that if amendments need to be made, my staff will work with you on them. We haven't looked at anything to throw a monkey wrench into anyone's proprietary. And again, you could talk to me, I understand software. That's what I did for a living before I became a senator,
So,
as Wells Farming.
sure, but realistically, for those sitting behind you and watching on the web.
But it could be consent calendar if everyone liked this bill, or a speaker's priority.
Probably not
Are we
consent
that
calendar because it's
sharp?
got people on both sides.
Okay.
That's
All
the
right.
standard.
Well,
But yeah, and the senator's priority designations were already requested. So without a priority designation, even if it comes out of committee, it's not likely to be heard this year.
but it could be. It could
Well, yeah.
It's not over till it's over.
Senator Chambers.
I have an amendment which if she would adopt, it would come out.
About mountain lions. Prairie dogs.
Strike all contents, original contents in the bill and insert the following. Better luck next year when we come back.
Okay. Well, thank you,
All right,
Senator
thank
Brosh.
you. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
And thank you to
Students
everyone
listening
who
rather
came
than
here to
sitting.
testify and who's watching today. Don't give up. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all for being here. We're going to take a 5-minute break to give everybody a chance to move around and people to file out who are inclined to leave. So we'll start back up at 4:15.